so I just did the setup for this one, and I'm going to get into the questions. One moment while I get some paper going. Sorry about that. All right. So this is a tricky one, so I do have a pencil and an eraser handy, so you might want to get that out as well. Just sometimes that is useful for a more challenging game, just so that you can, write something out and erase it so it doesn't get too messy. Okay, so first question, we have a typical style. So let's just go rule by rule as much as we can, right? So this is going to be the easiest rule to apply. It allows us to eliminate A. But then we're just going to kind of have to go along and make sure that each player has at least one other player, either the one before it or the one after it, that has something in common. So do S and T have something in common? Yes, they do. Do T and O have something in common? They do not. Do O and N have something in common? They do not. So putting O in the middle like that between T and N is not going to work out. If we have O between N and V, so do O and V have something in common? They do. Do V and S have something in common? They do not. So C won't work because V and S should have one in common. D, T, N, okay, that's great. Do N and S have something in common? They don't, but that's okay as long as S has something in common with O, which it does, and then O has something in common with V, which it does. So this is an example where the first two have an instrument in common, and then the last three, they have commonalities there where V has something in common with the each one around it. Okay. So that's D, and let's write that out just to show fully how that works. So we've got T, which is F and G, N, which is F and L, so they have F in common, S, H, and G. Okay, so nothing in common between these two. So S has to have something in common with O, which it does. It has H in common with O. And then V is going to have M so that they have something in common, which they do. So, sorry, V is going to have something in common with O. I misspoke there. And V has L and M as their instruments. So this one works out. And for E, what's wrong with E? Let's actually draw that out to show. So V has L and M, N, F and L. Okay, so they have the L in common. S, H, and G, nothing in common there. O, H, and M. Okay, but T, F, and G, so these two don't have anything in common, and that would leave T to not share a single instrument with the piece performed before it, and since there's no piece performed after it, it's not going to be able to fulfill that first rule, so that confirms E wouldn't work. D is the correct answer, and we can move on from question 20. Okay, question 21. Which one of the following instruments cannot be shared by the third and fourth pieces performed? Okay, so the third and fourth pieces, which pieces cannot be third and fourth? So we know that if N is second, T could be third or fourth, but N wouldn't be the other player. in that pairing. So we're never going to have N and T be third and fourth. The instrument that they share is the fiddle, so that's never going to be the instrument shared by the third and fourth pieces. So A is the correct answer. Question 22, if each piece except the fifth shares one instrument with the piece performed immediately after it, okay, then which one of the following could be true? So that essentially means that we're looking at a situation where every piece would have, so every piece possible would share an instrument with the one before it and the one after it. I say every piece possible because the first and the last pieces aren't going to have a before and an after. So what we're saying is each piece except the fifth. So the first piece, the second piece, the third piece, and the fourth piece, they're going to share one instrument with the one after it. But if that's the case, that means that, the second piece shares one with the piece that's third, and therefore the third shares one with the piece immediately before it, the fourth with one immediately before it, the second with the one immediately before it, right? So it means that we're getting both sides here. And so we have an example of that there. TNVOS is an example of that where T, we've got FG, N, we have FL, V, we have LM, O, we have MH, S, we have HG. So if I just switch the order of those guys, you can see how it all lines up there. So that's what would happen if N is second. What could be true? Could V be first? Could S be second? Could O be third? Could N be fourth? Could T be fifth? So obviously that's not the example that we have here. So let's create one where T is second. Okay, so on one side we're going to have N for sure. So let's see. So T, what is T? Is F and G. Let's just FL, put N there. G shares that with S. So GH, HM is O, and ML is V. So do any of these match up? Nope, but that is acceptable. Okay, so we're definitely going to have N and T beside each other, which means that we can't have them fourth or fifth in this scenario. So D and E are both out. Go process of elimination instead. So V first. Does V have anything in common with, yeah, so we could have VN, then T, and then TSO. Would that work? So V is LM. Okay, so this would be L, then F, T is F, then G, S is G and H, O is H and M. So yeah, that would work. So V could be first. So I suppose my tactic initially was to try to create all of the acceptable solutions, but then I changed my mind and went for process of elimination because I thought that would actually be a bit faster. But I did learn something from thinking about trying to create those acceptable solutions, because I was thinking that either N or T is going to be in this space, and then it's going to have one in common with one of the guys next to it. The one that they share is F, so we would have our options would have to include T before N, T after N, T in the second spot with N before T, or T before N, right? So we would have four possibilities, and then as soon as we know which side they're on, then we can kind of follow that through. So N shares one in common with T, but also one in common with V. T shares one in common with N, but then also one in common with S. Right? S has one in common with T and one in common with O. V has one in common with N, but also one in common with O. And then S would be left over here. V is left over here. N shares one in common with V, right? And then the other one in common with O. So those would be the options. Okay. Each of the following could be the piece performed first, except deduced that early on, but also we could have made that deduction based on this work. So 23, the answer is B. Question 24, if synchrony is performed fifth, then which one of the following could be true? So this could be true. Do we have another example where S is fifth already? Just that one. Just that one. It doesn't mean it's the only option. S also shares one in common with T. So let's give that a go. That would mean N is second. And then this can't be O, right? Because O can't be first. So it would have to be V. And then O would have to be here, but O can't be between N and T. So that's not allowed. So what could be true? N third, O third, T fourth, V first, V second. Oh, interesting. So there must be some option I'm not seeing. S, T. Yeah, what am I not seeing? O and N definitely don't have anything common. O and T don't have anything in common. If S is fifth, it could be true. Oh, could I have V and T? O, S? Because O and S have one in common. These guys have one in common. These guys have one in common. Yeah, that's another option because we don't actually have to have these guys have one in common. So, yeah, V could be first. That would be okay. Did I not have that example already? Oh no, I guess I had this, but yeah, these guys could switch. That would not be a problem. That was a question-specific condition for question 22 that gave me these as options, so it's not, doesn't include all of the possibilities when we go back to the original conditions. So V first, D is the correct answer there. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using a bank of acceptable solutions. This is not an exhaustive list of all of the acceptable solutions, and it was created given the question-specific condition in question 22. Right, hopefully that helps. Super tough game and a bit unusual, but yeah, that would be how I would go about solving it.